Holy crap, that's such a hit.
So they released their top 10 offenses. Colorado's number 8.
This moment in sports history will be remembered as one of the better fights, man. Like,
Put the cherry on top, they played Austria today. Guess the score of that game. 32
What
to
was it?
25 to not medal for bronze.
Hello and welcome to Rose and the Bleachers podcast, episode 20. You guys believe
Let's
it?
go.
20 episodes.
20
Let's go,
episodes.
baby.
We're here, baby. Keep it
Grind
rolling.
don't stop. Grind don't stop here on these bleachers, baby. But we got a brand new show. We got a lot of stuff to go over. A brand new preview for college basketball coming next week, starting November 4th. A lot of stuff we want to go over. But let's go into our college basketball preview. A lot of big teams. So the ACC Atlantic Coastal Conference, I'll go first. We have Duke, Duke University. A lot of players departing from this team. Kyle Filipkowski's gone. Jared McCann, Jeremy Roach goes to Baylor. Mark Mitchell. A lot of players who left. What do you think about this Duke team this year?
Yeah, obviously a lot of talent gone from said team, but I think that obviously they're bringing in Cooper Flag, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I mean, we could talk all about that they've lost all of it, and then they've got a guy like Cooper Flag. But I mean, this kid's going to be the number one overall pick in my opinion. I don't think that there's really a doubt about it unless he misses time. I mean, some of the stuff that we're hearing from like player interviews when they're talking about him at again 17 18 where he was playing in a 13U playing against
He
high
was,
school kids and beating them, and it's like, what?
it
No way,
is
he couldn't
wild.
do that. And he's just that guy. So I mean, I'm expecting a lot of big things from Duke. The other main kind of talent on that team is Tyrese Proctor.
Mhm.
And I think that again with Filipkowski now being gone and getting drafted to Jazz, it's going to be up to Proctor and Flag to step up, but you can't expect too much from Flag in his freshman season. So put a lot on it on Proctor.
Yeah, definitely. They definitely have also more good recruits as well. They have Con Newpel from Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin, known for his scoring ability. Isaiah Evans also signed to or recruited to the team, high-ranking forward, very versatile. It's just a reload for Duke, like it is like every year. What do you guys think? Do you think they're going to be at top of the conference again?
I think they're probably a solid betting log to take the conference. I mean, when you're looking around with Virginia experiencing turnover with their coaching so far, and then North Carolina, um, they do have some good production returning, but as we all saw, they somewhat struggled a bit last year. I think at least right now, Duke is a clear favorite.
Yeah, according to the odds, and did a little bit of homework for us, so I can kind of provide them conference by conference. But on FanDuel, Duke is opening at 135 to win the ACC regular season. Duke at plus 360, Wake at plus 1,000, Clemson at plus 1,100 are the next top odds on that. So definitely expecting Duke to win this. I don't think there's going to be any real kind of money on putting anything else for them to win the regular season, right? When you
Mhm.
talk about them actually winning the tournament now, that's going to be a whole different story because I think that was the main story from last year is that, ACC and then really all the way down to the group of five schools, there was not a lot of consistency from your regular season champion to your tournament champion, right? Because even in the ACC, UNC won the regular season and then Duke ends up winning the tournament, right? So it's still going to be a really competitive conference. I will tell you who I'm on just a smidgen is I love Pitt and I love Wake Forest. Those are two
I,
teams
I
that,
was just I was just about to tally Wake Forest.
yeah, those two from like a Ken Palm standing. That's definitely high. I'm that guy, Ken Palm guy. But Wake Forest is 44 and Pitt is 38. And when we're talking about teams that are offensively efficient and defensively efficient, especially in the ACC, that's going to be
Mhm.
something fun to watch for. So
Yeah,
I don't think there's any money I'm putting anybody else instead of Duke, though.
Yeah, Wake Forest combo guards of Hunter Salas and then Cam Hildreth, pretty good point guards. They brought in 5-star transfer Omaha Baloo. They have a really deep bench. I think Wake Forest definitely a team to watch.
Okay, so we think we have a little bit stock rising on Wake Forest, somebody to watch out for. Let's go to the opposite side of the North Carolina Triangle, like we mentioned earlier. UNC, we have a returning scorer, RJ Davis, their best scorer, an absolute walking bucket. And then some big two names that are gone that left, Armando Baycott, Their tenacious rebounder, leading rebounder all time, and then Harrison Ingram also left. But that doesn't mean that they didn't reload as well.
Of
Five-star
course.
freshman Ian Jackson, strong athletic scoring ability player. Drake Powell, another highly rated freshman. James Brown, just a lot of transfers coming into Cade Tyson, then Alan Lubin, and then Ty Claude to finish it off.
Yeah, UNC did a really good job of recruiting what I think is starting to become kind of their like prototypical 4 or 5 big man, right? Like it's that guy that's going to be around 6'9" to let's call it 6'11", just under 7 feet, a little bit more dynamic. Great rebounder, probably hits a lot of the defense piece, but the biggest piece is the shooting, right? I mean, we saw it from Drake May or I'm sorry, not Drake May, Luke May from UNC a few years ago, where he was able to really just take over, whether it be tournament games or ACC games. And I think that, again, from having a player in this type of conference that's dynamic enough to be able to cover, a 3 or 4, but then also be able to stay inside and block shots like a 5. That's kind of that new prototypical position that we've seen at UNC. So I'm excited to see what's going on. Ian Jackson will be the big one that kind of maybe fits that role specifically.
Cade Tyson could be that guy transferring from Belmont. Has a lot
Mm-hmm.
of size, 3-point shooting from the wing. So,
Hey, if you're getting a transfer from Belmont, you know that they can shoot threes.
right. And then that leads me to who I want to bring up is the University of Miami. Uh,
Oh, here we go.
Jim Larinaga bringing that heat. Didn't do as well last year, but they do have a 5-star recruit, Jaleel Bethea from Pennsylvania. I think he's going to be super sick. Another standout recruit, we have Austin Schwartz. We also have Isaiah Johnson Arugo. Not sure if I pronounced that right. And then they also brought a transfer from Samford, AJ Stanton McCray. Uh, Jim Larinaga knows how to coach. They play defensively. They know how to score. I think Miami should be returning back to a little bit of prominence. I think the ACC is going to be a bloodbath this year.
Mhm.
So it's
I,
it's
I, and we're also forgetting a little bit about Clemson. I mean, the team that knocked out Arizona, made the Elite Eight. Um, returns Chase Hunter. How are we feeling about Clemson?
I mean, I think the way that I kind of look at this ACC conference, and really it's going to be most of the conferences that we talk about today, is that everyone reloaded, everyone got better, and that's the new landscape of college basketball, right? So I think
Hmm.
that my default on all of this is going to end up being coaching. And I think that again, with Duke just having, 1 year, one championship with Shire, you can't really like rest your laurels on it and be like, hey, let's, we're going to run it back immediately. And I think that we kind of saw that with UNC running the gambit in the regular season. From a Clemson standpoint, I think that they're going to be the team that they always are, right? They're going to be a team that's a little bit more defensive. They're going to be a little bit more rebound oriented. Maybe they're
Hmm.
able to, they're going to go lights out like they did in the tournament against us, and then that's going to be a random performance for them, right? But they're not built off of that. So to play ACC basketball, having proper rebounding, have a proper defense, like Clemson will be a hard team to play against. If we really have to pick between Miami and Clemson, who I think is going to be returning to, let's call it, more of the prominence to being a football and basketball school, I think it's Miami. Miami plays fast. Miami's got good defense. Miami can shoot. Like, I think the biggest thing that happens to them is that they're streaky. And again, you can't really have that in college basketball. So this season will be very interesting for Miami. I do expect them to be one of the top football basketball schools, but don't sleep on Pitt, because Pitt's going to be in there too.
okay. So would you say Pitt's your dark horse for this conference, Jake?
No, 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 no. Hold on. Let me be very clear. I think that Duke is winning the conference outright, both
I
regular
said
season
Yes.
and tournament.
dark
Yes.
horse, dark
Yeah,
horse.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But from at least, a team to watch and at least getting into the tournament, I'm watching Pitt heavy. You know what I mean? And I think that the main reason why is I was watching them last year, they play fast. And I think that that gets teams a little bit scared sometimes. Like they always talk about the little trapezoid of excellence, right? Like you don't want to play too fast, you don't want to play too slow. They kind of play higher in that top right corner. But best thing about them is that they're an incredibly efficient offensive team. So very excited for what Pitt's going to bring this year.
One interesting note on the ACC coming into this year, Louisville, one of the probably best historic traditions in the conference behind Duke and UNC. They have zero returning starters from last year's team, or returning players. Obviously Louisville has been struggling at a level they should not be struggling with a program like that. They have completely revamped the roster. They have brought in James Madison transfer Terrence Edwards. He was
Dude,
Sunbelt Player
they
of the
have
Year
13
last year.
transfers.
Yes,
Oh yeah.
yes, yeah. No, Louisville, completely new team. I mean, this just highlights what the transfer portal can do for you now. But they should be a lot better compared to last year with the some of the transfers. Like I said, Terrence Edwards, 17 points a game last season. James Madison, who was an extremely good team last year. I mean, I think they started the year on a 2021 game winning streak. They also bring in senior Kason Pryor, transfer from USF. He's already regarded as one of the better big men to watch in the league this year. So look for Louisville to make a huge jump.
Okay. All right. So Louisville, watch out for Louisville. That'll bring me to my dark horse, I think. Give me Syracuse. I think Syracuse comes back hot and heavy this season. They had a major player leave, Judah Mintz. That was their leading scorer for the previous season. They finished with the 20-12 record. They missed out on making the dance, but they get a five-star freshman this year, forward Donnie Freeman. I think he'll contribute early. He's 6'10", maybe a little light, 190 pounds. But they definitely have a lot of good transfers. Lucas Taylor, Georgia State, 14 and a half. I think they have some veteran transfers coming in that I think that'll help them boost and make a little bit of a fight against some of these bigger top programs. Not saying Syracuse isn't, but as of lately.
Hey, well, let's see if the Orange Man can squeeze themselves from the ACC into the into the tourney. We'll see what's up.
Yeah. And then Jair Davis from Delaware transferring into Syracuse, 17 points per game. So it's that's why I mentioned earlier. Syracuse might be or excuse me, ACC might be a bloodbath.
All right, I'm with it.
And then if you had to guess how many teams make the dance for the ACC, what would you guys think? My guess is four teams make the ACC the dance for the
Wow.
tournament.
Yeah, there's
You said
18
four.
teams now in
I think
in the
four.
ACC.
Hmm.
Putting me on the spot, man. I'm gonna go over 4.5. I think that there's some good teams in here. I think that you don't
Yeah.
walk out. I don't think you don't walk out of this without seeing Duke, UNC, some sort of combination of Wake, Clemson, Miami as that third spot. Again,
Mhm.
I'm high on Pitt. Maybe you get an extra one of those. Let's go over at 4.5.
Okay.
I think five is a solid bet with the potential of going adding maybe one more. Um, yeah, I like I said, I think Wake besides outside of UNC and Duke, Wake could be a really great team to watch.
Well, we'll see how the ACC plays out. I think it'll be a lot stronger conference than it was last year. And then that'll bring us to the Big 12, the Big 12
Oh boy.
conference, our favorite conference, new addition. So let's start off with Arizona. That's who we know best and well. I think this team is better than last year. I think the defense is going to be a lot better. We have Jaden Bradley as our new point guard, defensive absolute guru. What are
Mhm.
you guys' thoughts on the Arizona Wildcats this year?
I think that with people are still sleeping a bit on Carter Bryant with how good he actually is going to be. There are early reports right now out of practice that he is completely locked in. And they originally thought when they brought him in, okay, Carter's going to be a 2 year player. That's all kind of out the window now. It's looking more and more like he's a one and done. So with his, when he got that Arizona offer, he was in tears. It's always been a dream school, and he just seems completely locked in on getting this team to where we all want them to go. And then with KJ Lewis's development over the offseason and Jaden Bradley, if we finally get that storyline of Boswell, the Bradley friction off, like that Boswell distractions all gone, no more off the court distractions. I think that I do. If you had to ask me, does Arizona win the Big 12? I don't think so. I think they will finish top 4 or 5 in the conference, but this team is so much better built for March this year.
Well, I don't feel the same way, and I'll tell you why. I think
What?
Yeah,
You?
no,
What?
I know. And listen, I'm gonna be the guy right now that as the Arizona fan, I want to be dead wrong on everything, right? But I think that personally, last year's team, that's the biggest thing for me in the tournament, right? Is that you want to have teams that have like that kind of veteran, that leadership experience. And now that roster from last year had a lot of people that have already been tournament bound. Maybe didn't see deep tournament, but they had at least seen it, right? And I think that now, like, we're going into a year where, sure, Caleb Love's got another year under his belt, and there's a couple of different friction pieces. I mean, frankly, I loved Kylan Boswell, and I'll be watching him at Illinois for sure. But for KJ Bradley, like, there's going to be guys that show up, and like, hopefully he's the MVP of the season and he proves me wrong. But I think that the Big 12 is arguably going to be one of the most competitive college basketball conferences that we've seen.
It's the best.
No. Hold on. Let me finish this thought. It's going to be the most competitive conference that we've seen in the last 10 years, is what I'm thinking.
Yes.
And it's because we could be great and we have great recruits and we've got everything going for us. But again, we're talking about now playing against Kansas, playing against Houston, playing against Iowa State. Like, these are teams that, again, you got to come to the well every day and get water. And this Arizona team scares me sometimes when it comes to doing that. So I hope we make the tournament. I hope we do great. You know what I mean? But I am going in probably the most pessimistic I have, just because of the competitive nature of what's going on.
I mean, the days of playing Thursday night in Corvallis, Oregon, with maybe 3,000 fans in the stands are over, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an adjustment for Tommy and the team. I think like Trey Townsend's going to be huge. We 100%. All saw what he did in the tournament last year. And I mean, just looking at the team, I just think there's more dogs on here. That's just my opinion. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't think we win the conference, but I think should be a lock for the Sweet 16 Elite Eight.
That's what we think. And this is big. This is a big change for you, Matt. The no more like 28 wins a season, probably.
Nope. Guys, I think we'll have 8 or 9 losses, and that's perfectly fine.
Absolutely. But I think guys going to show a little bit more of the Montahius Crevis, getting the keys to that front court. I think he'll be huge to help us in battling those big athletic centers in the Big 12. And then I would like to point out another school for the Big 12, Baylor. Baylor is going to be absolutely insane. In response to the changes for Baylor, they brought experienced Jeremy Roach from Duke, starting point guard. He'll probably get the keys of that. No Chad Omorie for Miami. Brings the rebounding that Baylor always has each year and each out. And then Chris Caliston. I can't pronounce these names. Jalen Celestine, experienced wing player from Cal. Any ideas on what we think of Baylor this year?
I mean, Jeremy Roach is gross. And I think that he's the main guy that, again, to your point, when you're watching in the tournament last year and you were watching that Duke team get a little bit congested sometimes on offense, it's because Roach wanted to take the ball and take over. And I think that, again, you're putting him in an offense where with Baylor, they're not necessarily known for their offensive game ever when it comes to a program. They are definitely more of your rebound and defensive piece.
There was that one year where they were shooting like lights out from three. But
right. That's what I'm saying, though, is that's not their standard model. Like, sometimes the kids get hot. Sometimes you recruit a good streak of kids, but realistically their brand of basketball is built off of defense and honestly not being the fastest team in the country. So I think that for a guy like Roach, where he's really able to swallow up whatever 2 guard that he's playing against, most likely, I imagine that in this offense, he's probably just going to be the true 1 versus being a 2. So it'll be interesting to see what he does specifically, but Baylor's probably not going to be the team that even wins this conference, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know, Jake. I don't know about that.
And that's just me. I'm sitting on my little, I like Kansas Mountain here, but
they lost some talent. Jacoby Walter and Ray J. Dennis, their starting backcourt, both gone. So they lose those 2 guards who were averaging over 14 points a game, both significant losses. But they bring Roach, and they also bring two recruits, VJ Edgecombe, 5-star recruit, best at his position, small forward, and they also bring in Rob Wright, best point guard out of the whole class for 2024. So another reload for this team.
For sure. And I don't want you to think that I'm not on Baylor by any means. I mean, I think that, and looking at where we're at right now, they could easily be a team where if they put together a 28 win season and they have, some sort of dogfight in some of these games and chunk out to be the top record, I would not be shocked, right? Like, they have the pedigree to be able to do that. Frankly, I think that the team that's going to be on my watch list that I'm going to have in a little dark corner that I don't know why they're getting as much love as they are right now. I think it was because of the tournament run last year. Iowa State, dude.
Yes, yes.
Iowa
Loaded
State is going to
defense.
be a weird team, and I love watching weird teams, man. Biggest, at least kind of transfer that I saw for them was Deshaun Jackson from Charlotte, 6'11", averaged 11 points and 6 rebounds. Which again, from a Charlotte perspective, that's not necessarily the school that you're like planting your flag in the ground and saying, "Oh my God, that's where we got to recruit from," right? But kid balls out, defensive stud, and I think that for Iowa State, a lot of what they are really built off of is obviously that 3-point shooting, but then also really being able to play defense. So
Mhm,
they've also got Tamlin Lipsey, who's their heartbeat of their team, leading scorer, key distributor. Iowa State, put him on my dark horse for the Big
mhm.
12, man. I think there's a lot of teams to talk about here, but Iowa State, man, could be it.
Fun fact about Iowa State, they had the number one defense in Kempom last year, which,
That's why I'm
you
saying
know,
it.
just I mean, like the Iowa State that I know, just up and down, score a bunch of points, but then you add in this defense, and yeah, they could win the conference.
And I'll tell you,
Guys,
I mean,
there's 5 teams, 6 teams that could win the conference.
easily. And
Mm.
last year's regular season champion was Houston, and then the tournament ended up being Iowa State. So again, we're talking about another conference that's competitive from even regular season to their own tournament, let alone getting into the brackets, right? So it's big stuff.
Now, Matt, I got a bone to pick with you because I'm
Oh, here we
upset you
go.
haven't mentioned. I'm really worried about the other school about 60 miles north of Arizona and Arizona State. Are they going to be legit?
Uh, no. Yes, you get Joe Saint on. I get
And
that,
Jaden
but
Quintan, dude, 5-star recruit. I'm surprised you're not freaking out over that.
Drew, I'm not freaking out because look who's still coaching. Bobby Hurley. Guys,
True. True.
guys, nothing's gonna change. We've seen this before with sorry, who was the younger brother that ASU brought in of that 4 5 the power forward. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. His brother went to Duke.
I kind of remember.
Do you know who?
It wasn't who was
I
that
haven't had
short
coffee,
point
man.
guard?
Well, all right, Remy Martin, yes, but sorry, this is going to drive me insane now. But just Drew, I think as long as you have Bobby Hurley, they might start the season off like they sometimes do, November, December. Oh my God, ASU, they might show up in the top 25, and then for whatever reason, and it happens like clockwork, once the calendar hits January, they start to crumble.
Well, I unfortunately have them as my dark horse in the Big 12. I'm not happy about it. I hope
Yeah,
I'm
don't be.
wrong. I'm just a little worried about them. That's all I gotta mention on that disgusting school up north in Arizona. And then let's go to the big top dog that probably the favorite absolutely of this conference, Kansas. Uh, who would assume? I can't believe Hunter Dickinson still has eligibility. Can't believe this guy's still playing. Can you
It's
guys?
the best. It's the best. I love it.
He is the Cam Rising of college basketball.
It's
Yeah,
getting there.
it's a good comparison, man. I like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Kansas played Arkansas in an exhibition.
Oh,
And Arkansas won, and I hope that we
whooped
all
him.
saw that because it was sick. Obviously, Kansas had a few key players that weren't playing in that game, right? But Kansas is opening six in Ken Palm, and I mean, I don't think anybody's surprised by that. Like, they're going to be a perennial top 10 in that category for a long ass time, and they have been because of that defensive and offensive efficiency. Um, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm high on Kansas. I think that they're the top odds for the Big 12 right now at plus 220. Houston's at plus 230. Iowa State plus 470. Baylor plus 800. Arizona plus 850. But Kansas could be the team that wins the whole damn thing this year. I think that they've got, again, that roster continuation. They've got that, the sauce to it. And again, Big 12 is going to be a weird ass conference, but Kansas has kind of had that pedigree of being able to chunk through worse competition before. And I think this is going to be their biggest competition throughout the year. So Kansas is my pick to win the Big 12.
I
One of
think that.
my
Oh, go
go
ahead,
ahead,
Matt. Go
Drew.
ahead.
Okay, so I think this team by no means is going to win the conference, but I just think it's a team that we should at least be keeping on the radar. Cincinnati. So preseason, they're number 20. They have added star Texas transfer Dylan Mitchell. They also addressed some of their shooting weaknesses with other transfers like Connor Hickman. He averaged 15 um, points per game and 40% from 3-point shooting last year at Bradley. So we all know Cincy, they're known for their defense. They had the third best defense in the conference last year, but they seem to have addressed the offensive woes in the portal. So just I would just keep an eye on Cincy. I think they do make the tournament. I don't think they finish top 5 in the conference, but I think any team traveling going to Cincy for an away game, I mean, that's going to be extremely tough.
That could be the longest spurt in Bros in the Bleachers podcast history where Matt didn't mention Ohio. So look, we finally got our off. Let's go. I love it.
Yeah, we're missing our other Ohioan fan, Josh, on the show this week. But no, Cincinnati's always a team that's always so defensively good, and then they get to the first round of the tournament, and then they get booted out just like like clockwork.
Yep. I mean, they're like they're like Baylor, except they just can't make any shots, and that's why I said, all right, hopefully they're addressing that, but defense can only get you so far, I think.
And then I just wanted to touch on another defensive team that'll probably be a disgusting matchup come February, January is Houston. Maybe when they go play against Cincinnati. Houston reloading again. They return LJ Cryer, like Jake mentioned earlier. They returned Jawan Roberts forward, defensive hoss, tough physical rebounder, led the team last year in rebounds. They also get Emmanuel Sharp back who averaged 12 points a game last year. And then they also lose, I think, their best player from that team, Jamal Sheed, who averaged 13 points a game and had 2 steals a game. Pretty remarkable. But they just don't have the size again. They don't have a player taller than 6'8". So,
but see, that's Houston though, man. Like again, they're for some reason, I don't know what the formula ends up being, but there are some programs that can literally exist without having a guy that's 6'9", 6'10" plus on their roster.
Hey,
and it's because they just swallow defenses. To your point on Sheed, I mean, again, with 2 steals last year per season, Cryer, his biggest role that he had last year was really in that scoring position. Houston is known for having that defensive dog ability. And I frankly, I haven't run the tape on Cryer's defensive ability, but he'll basically need to take over Sheed's entire role and then some to be able to get Houston across the line because it's going to be a dogfight.
Drew, our boy Jason Shear is not high on LJ Cryer at all. He thinks that the drop off is too significant from Jamal Sheed for Houston to overcome.
Okay. Expert Jason Shear. Would love to have him to be a friend of the podcast if that's ever possible. If he would leave Mike Luke's side. But Houston just it's just disgusting.
Can you imagine having Mike Luke on the show?
No, I couldn't. That would be great though, Jake. If you're not free with
Jake, do you watch
Mike Luke?
I don't, unfortunately.
You should consider yourself lucky, but also you're missing out at the same time. But any other teams you guys want to mention about the Big 12?
Last one I want to highlight, and it's because one of these random schools that I'm just huge on is Drake. Their head coach, Darian DeVries, left and is now the head coach for West Virginia. I'm going to let you know now. I'm going to say this, and I don't want anybody to hold any weight in it. West Virginia could be nasty. They are really bad, and they don't really have a lot of returning talent, but they could be nasty. And I think it's because he
Tucker, right?
Right. Yeah, they've got a few guys that are with them, but frankly, I think that with West Virginia, they've got a culture of like that defensive basketball, Bob Huggins, that spirit's still in there. So again, just throw it out there. It's not a real take. It's a half take. West Virginia could be back.
I love watching Tucker DeVry at Drake last year. That's his name, right? It was just so painful having to watch him play Washington State last year in that tournament. I was so high on Drake and they crumbled, and so did my love for that team. All right. Anyways, moving on from the Big 12, we're gonna go to the Big 10. No, I almost lied. How many teams do you think make this make the tournament in the Big 12?
Wait, Drew. Oh, sorry. Big 12.
Yeah, Big 12. What's your
Can we
guess?
say the whole league?
My guess was 6. I think 6 teams make this from the Big 12 because I think it'll be cannibalism in this league because each team taking each other out.
Yeah, man. Yeah, this is going to be. I'm going to put over under at. Hmm, I'm going to put the over under at 5.5 and make it easy
Oh,
for me.
I'm
But
hammering that over.
we know you're screaming it from the mountaintops, but I think that there's probably some sort of adjusted piece on this at like over 7 because I think that there's
Hmm.
going to be some teams that really get sneaky in there. I mean, as we're looking at the top odds, I mean, all 5 of these top teams are making the tournament. You know what I mean? So again,
Yep.
I'll put it at 5.5, and then maybe there's a couple that slide in after that. The real money is at 7.5, though. So Matt, whip out your wallet and pay me.
Um, okay, well that'll conclude the Big 12 and we go into the Big 10. Disgusting basketball. I don't care what anybody
God.
says. Absolutely disgusting basketball to watch. Fight me. But there's one team that I just want to get off the rip. I want to make it a dark horse, but I don't think that's going to be possible because they just absolutely just got so stacked. Rutgers, Jake, are you a big Rutgers fan this year? Do you have any stock in Rutgers?
I have a ton of stock in Rutgers this year.
Yeah.
Now, let me just cook, if you will. So obviously, Drew, to your point, Rutgers had the top recruit or one of the top recruiting classes this year,
Insane.
and I think that,
Insane.
and again, it's one of those things where I was looking through the odds, and I don't know how much stock I can actually take into this, and I'm not lying. If you go on the Big Ten right now and you look at where the odds were, Rutgers wasn't listed. And I don't know why they're not listed, but they were the only team that was not listed to win the conference championship. So if anybody can find it, you let me
Guys.
know. I tried multiple books. That could be a sign.
Vegas doesn't want you to have
Guys,
it, Jake.
guys.
They don't
Just
want you to
saying.
have
I'm
it.
just saying. Just let me
Guys.
play in the sand.
you
Let me have my sign.
I am looking at the odds right now. Per FanDuel, get for a conference winner for Big Ten regular season conference winner. Guess how far Rutgers is down on the odds right now.
What are the odds? We know that's far down. Hit me
Six?
with it.
Plus 1,300.
Oh.
Rutgers right now has the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the ninth best odds.
See, I didn't even see it listed on my thing last night, and maybe I'm blind. I don't know. I mean, obviously, like we know that Purdue is going to be the team that probably runs the conference again specifically, but dude, Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, I'm excited.
Amazing.
Excited, man.
Second and third overall recruits in that class.
Yeah.
Yes.
Insane.
Yes.
They're going to be the most shocking team of the conference, but I don't think that anybody is really, they should be shocked. You know what I mean? Like Rutgers has been a team that's been on the map for a while. And I think that, again, they've gotten a little bit of the shorthand here. But the biggest thing I think with all of this is that Ace Bailey is a Brooklyn guy. So again, him being able to come back into the fold and really be able to rep out, I think it's going to be a good stuff.
Yeah. No, I thought, is it Harper a New Jersey kid too?
Yeah, that's what they're New Jersey guys. That's what it is. It's not, there's another.
No,
yeah.
I mean, for
So
a class
sick.
that finished higher than Arizona's, and then with them on the rise, it's astounding to me that their odds are that far down.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Take Rutgers. But yeah, they were 15-7 last year. Terrible offense. Horrible offense, but good defense. They returned Jeremiah Williams, who averaged 12 points a game, and that was their highest scorer. So adding just those two top recruits in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, going to be insane. If this was the year, it's this year for Rutgers.
And listen, I'll be very clear. I don't think that Rutgers is going to win the conference. Like I think that they're going to be a very good team. I think they're making the tournament. I think that people are sleeping on them, but it's probably going to end up being Indiana.
I like Indiana too. I like them too. Indiana sports this year is gonna cook.
You're gonna feel it by the end of this podcast. I really focus a lot of this outreach, or I'm sorry, a lot of this research on who are those teams that are both football and basketball schools, and Indiana is back, brother.
Hey,
I mean,
let's get into it now. Indiana,
Umar Ballo,
leader of men. I'm making Indiana my dark horse. Is that fair? I'm making it my dark horse. They have new players. Miles Rice transferred from Washington State, baller. Cannon Carl transferred from Stanford, averaged 11 to 12 points a game. Umar Ballo, double machine, can go missing at times offensively, but can get alley-oops and is an absolute unit. Perfect for Big Ten basketball.
Who do we think? Who? Really quick question. Sorry, Jake. Who do we think has a better season at their school compared to their stats last year? Umar Ball at Indiana or Kylan Boswell at Illinois?
Oh, I mean that's obvious. It's going to be Omar Ballo. Omar
Yes.
Ballo is going to
Yes.
only like we've seen it year over year. Like he's obviously like taking the steps to where from a defensive and rebounding standpoint, there might not be another better guy. And in I'm going to say this conference because I think there's other guys in the country for sure that I'll kind of talk about later. But again, when we're talking about top 10 big men in the country. He's in that conversation, and it's
He
not
is.
close. I am so sad that he has gone from this Arizona team, but I am very happy to see him wear the candy stripe Indiana Hoosier pants. And I mean, like Indiana, they're 39 in KenPom right now. Like, people probably aren't thinking about him too much. The sharp money,
Mhm.
in my opinion, is on Indiana to win this entire thing because you've got Purdue at plus 390. You've got Indiana at plus 650, Ohio State plus 750, UCLA
Don't
plus
sleep on the
950,
Bucks.
and Oregon plus 950. So I will tell you, my darkest horse that I have in all of this, please, please, please don't hate me because it's
I think I know.
UCLA, guys. It's
No, not
UCLA.
Mick Cronin. No, no,
I
I
know,
can't
I
support
know,
Mick
know,
Cronin.
I know,
No,
and
no.
I know that you don't like Mick Cronin, but I don't really care. So UCLA 26 in KenPom. And my biggest thing is that Kobe Johnson has the flavor feeling into him right now. I mean, he went from USC. He's now going to be that transfer coming over to UCLA. Sneaky defensive player of the year potential. And again, 2.2 steals last year. Like, again, big defensive guy for a guy like Cronin. Like, he fits really well into that system. I'm going to be very curious to see how UCLA continues to win. I don't know if that's where my sharp money goes. Again, I think sharp money goes to Indiana, but UCLA to make the tournament and play around a little bit. I'm with it.
My my dark horse to not only make the tournament and have a good run in the tournament, but to potentially win this conference. And because I love the coach, give me the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
they returned, Jackson Shellstad, one of their best players last year. Kwame Evans Jr.
Oh,
going to continue to grow. I mean, Drew, we saw them in person earlier this year at the Pac-12 tournament. I like when the lights are shining bright, especially from February and March. Oregon is just always one of those teams that just gets better and better and better as the season goes along. They added Villanova guard TJ Bamba and then Stanford, one of Stanford's better players, Brandon Angel, through the portal. Um, Oregon right now they have I think it's the fifth or sixth best odds, but just with the style of basketball that they play, and then you also count the OG Big Ten teams have to make that far travel out there to Oregon on. What's a tough place to play at Matthew Knight Arena? They finally got rid of the shitty paint scheme on that court. They changed it.
Yeah, they got the
So
trees gone.
yeah,
oh,
yeah. So
I didn't mind that.
It
it'll
was
be
actually
easier.
hysterical. Their coach made some sort of comment where he was like, "Yeah, a bunch of freshmen were getting lost in the trees, so we decided to get rid of them." And it was like, "Oh,
I wonder how Bill Walton would have felt about this change. I know
RIP."
RIP. But no, I think outside of Purdue and Indiana, Oregon's going to be right there.
I'll be
Okay.
watching Kylan at Illinois, but don't put any stock into it. Just let me be a
Hey,
nerd in the corner, do my
he,
thing.
I'll bring up
he
Illinois. Matt, go ahead. I'll let you get your thought
Kylan
out.
said he's changed his ways. He has a six pack now. No more
Oh, is that right?
partying. Once you get him away from Vegas and Tucson,
No
everything
hanging out at
changes.
blackjack tables anymore. Right before game day. Illinois, we're gonna touch on it really quick. They lose Terrence Shannon. They're 23 points a game, elite scorer. They
Elites,
lose Marcus
elites.
Domass, 15 points again. Cole Hawkins. I don't really feel that the players that they brought in are really going to elevate them to the success they had last year. Sure, they
Agreed.
added Will Riley, 5-star recruit, 6'8".
He's very
Uh,
good. Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't think they're going to have the same success because I mean that was the most successful Illinois basketball run they've had in quite some time versus maybe the year
100%.
before that. But I just don't see it. And then Purdue, Zach Edey is no longer a
Thank
college
God.
Under the
basketball
contract.
Thank
player.
God.
But I will bring up something else that Purdue did. 4-star Daniel Jacobson, 7'3" center with potential to be a future impact for them. I think he'll be the Zach Edey Band-Aid. How do they keep getting tall white kids? I don't understand. I'm just gonna assume he's slow. Is that
Could be. I mean, listen,
I
I know that with Purdue too, Braden Smith is returning, and that's kind of the big key piece for them is he's going to be the one that's running their offense. 12 points, 7.5 assists, 5 rebounds, and 1.6 steals. So again, for as much as Edie got all of the national attention, anybody that was really watching Purdue last year knows that Braden Smith is the guy. So
as
and
well as Fletcher Lawyer. I mean,
yeah,
that
and
guy
Fletcher
can
Lawyer for
completely
sure.
ball out.
Yeah,
You cannot leave Fletcher. You can't give him an inch. I mean, he's one of the best shooters, pure shooters in the country.
exactly. And that's what Purdue is going to end up being. So again, I think the fact that they did reload on that side, at least in the front court, is amazing to hear. But again, Purdue at plus 390 is probably where the smart money goes, but the sharp money for Jake Snyder goes to Indiana.
Can we talk about Ohio State really quick?
No, next one. All right.
so
I'm kidding.
obviously you guys know that Ohio State, Chris Holtman was fired during the season
Oh,
last year,
totally. Yep.
and immediately after the firing, I mean the team improved greatly under Jake Diebler. They kept him, re-signed him, and he's brought in some good players. So Michi Johnson, South Carolina transfer, Micah Parrish, San Diego State, and then Sean Stewart from Duke. They have really returned Bruce Thornton, one of the better point guards in the conference. Yeah, I mean, I think Ohio State right now, I don't really understand why they have the third best odds to win the conference per FanDuel at plus 750. I think they'll finish. I really, really think they'll finish top 5 in the conference, but they're definitely going to be a lot better from last year. Definitely a tournament team. Definitely keep an eye on Ohio State.
I think Ohio State's mainly barely above 500. Maybe they get like 5 games over 500. That's
Nope,
how they
nope.
always been. Okay, all right. Well, maybe I'll get proven wrong, but another just little note. USC and the Muscle Man. I wish you didn't have to go there. Why? 11 transfers. My God. That's I just want to touch on that quick. And then how many teams do you think make the dance from the Big Ten? My guess is 8 teams make it because they
Jerk.
owe the yeah, I expect I agree, Jake, but these people the guys who make the bracket, they always are so high on these damn Big Ten
I
teams and they're
know.
so
I
Yes.
know.
overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So can we change the
so
question to how many big teams lose in the first weekend? The
No,
first
no, no,
eight
eight
no.
teams.
teams.
Yeah. No, man. Damn, that's tough. I mean, again, just even looking at these odds, I think, it wouldn't be unfair to say that 5 of the top 6 teams probably
Mhm.
get in, at least odds wise. I will say, I will openly say it on the pod. I agree with Drew, OSU. Sorry, Matt, it's going to be shit. But
No, no.
I think that if you look at a couple of other teams, I mean, again, like Rutgers probably has a shot. Like Washington maybe has kind of a shot. Like, so I don't know. I'm gonna say I'll put that over underline. I'll put it at 5.5 for the smart money. And again, we'll do it at 7.5 for this. I think that 7.5 is probably crazy high. So Matt, if you want to give me money on that one too, you're more than welcome to. But I think that I'll go with 5 or 6. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm
I was
gonna go,
I
Matt.
was gonna
Go.
say 6. I mean, I think with again with the recent bias that we've seen by the committee with them loving the Big Ten, maybe it pushes 7. But I think this league. I think this league's better than last year. I'll just put it like that. I don't think Purdue's going to completely run away with it, but there's definitely a lot of talent now in this league.
Yeah, that it Big Ten always it's just not fun to watch. Sorry,
It's
I don't
not. It's
care.
not.
That'll lead us to the next conference, the SEC.
Ooh.
It just means
Another
more.
another just it's
It always means more.
yeah, and it's a basketball conference as the past few years have gone by. Let's start off here. Alabama, absolutely loaded. They did lose some players. Mark Sears went to the draft. Aaron Estrada, both guys, 21 points a game, 15 points a game. That backcourt's no more. But they do have new players joining. Chris Youngblood transferred from South Florida and Aiden Holloway from Auburn. And then I didn't have recruits on here, but they definitely had some big recruits added to the
Wait,
Alabama team.
wait, Drew, Sears is still on the roster. He's coming
Is
back.
he?
Yes.
Well, I will correct that note. Sears is Alabama. I never said that. He is still on the team. Didn't say that.
Guys, I mean, just looking at when we watched the tournament last year, Sears is a stud. I mean, he's one of the, he's like, you know, you- he's like Jalen Brunson-esque. I mean, when you know it when you see it. Serious as a dog, not afraid. I love Alabama in the preseason watch. Go ahead, Drew.
No, I have nothing.
Oh,
Yeah, just still,
I,
I can't believe I missed Mark Sears. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Alabama, like, there's too many articles being written about how Alabama's going to win this whole damn thing. And I mean, and I don't know why it is. Like, I just don't see Alabama being the school that puts it all together. I mean, last year, if we're talking regular season champion, it was Tennessee, tournament was Auburn. Like, this is still a
mhm,
competitive conference. Like, and again, last year they had guys at, Alabama that frankly were probably that veteran leadership that they were really relying on, and that it wasn't a super young team, and they kind of didn't make anything really happen of it, at least in my opinion, right? So,
Oh,
I,
Grant Nelson. Remember him from last
yeah,
year when
there we
had those the
go.
same few
mhm,
games?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mhm.
But with this Alabama team, I mean, listen, like when we're talking about opening odds, they're at plus 220. Auburn's right with them at plus 220. Tennessee
Yeah.
plus 380. The team that I will spend way too much time talking about today is Arkansas plus 1500, Texas at plus 1700. I will tell you right now, all of the thought of the SEC in my head for the next months is Arkansas. And I think it's
Mhm,
because this team
mhm.
is a little bit too chalked out to where you're going to see a very competitive conference. People are going to be sleeping on it, but at plus 1500 to have John Calipari as a coach with how talented that damn roster is, gimme Arkansas for sure.
Mhm.
Lock it in.
I mean, he had three guys from Kentucky follow him with DJ Wagner, a Duke hero,
Exactly.
and Zavarnamur Izovic. Sorry, Zuvarnamur or something. Zubafu.
Zavnamir Isevich. And I think the best part about this Arkansas team, if we'll jump into it real quick, 25 in Ken Palm to open up the year, number 3 recruiting class and number 1 transfer class. They've got John L. Davis from FAU, who Drew, I know that you're high
Oh,
on. And again, he's a absolute baller, shoots lights out.
He
So that is
yes.
does. He's just a
Yes.
little streaky at times. He can go
definitely.
missing occasionally.
But I think to that point, though, you probably saw him get streaky because with a team like FAU, he had to shoot 15 to 20 times a game, if not more than that, Whereas in this Arkansas offense, now that they've got DJ Wagner from Kentucky and one of the best names in all of college basketball right now,
Boogie.
Boogie Fland. Uh, this team is going to be really fun to watch. Those 3 guys, I'll say it right now. John L. Davis probably doesn't play the same amount of defense, or again, Boogie is a little bit younger, so I don't want to compare
Mhm.
all of these guys together. They're kind of like all of the same player, though. It's kind of like playing with 3 Shy Gilgeous Alexanders. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the new model for this college football or college basketball landscape, right? Like you want to find that guy that's anywhere between like 6'6", 6'8", that can play around and be able to not only cover the 1, but also be able to get inside and maybe cover a 4 and 5. Again, Boogie's a little bit shorter. He's going to be more of that true freshman, but he'll get in the paint, be able to just take contact. Seeing that a guy doing that at 18, 19 and putting up 22 points against Kansas,
Mhm.
Arkansas, throw it up.
Arkansas might have a top 5 backcourt in the country this season. I mean,
Easy.
they are absolutely loaded.
But John
All of my
Calipari's
sharp
their
money.
coach, so.
Yeah.
But no,
like John L. Davis, that the production. I mean, he. I don't. I think last season production maybe he wasn't, that team wasn't, they didn't meet expectations as their Final Four run. But I mean, you pair John L's still one of the best guards that we've seen in the last 2 years. I think everyone knows that. I mean, this team, I think this team, along with I think it's Alabama or Arkansas.
I will say another team that I'm not putting so much stock into, but since we're talking Calipari, we might as well talk Kentucky.
Yep.
Kentucky's 42 in Ken Palm, and frankly, no players from the Calipari era are still here, but they did get my boy. I know he's not your boy, but he's my boy, Kirk Harisa, the legend.
Oh,
he's at
gonna be
Kentucky?
He's going to be at
yep.
Kentucky, which is insane. And then they
Insane.
also got Lamont Butler from SDSU. So those were 2 guys that, frankly, I've been watching for a couple seasons now and really like the way that both of them play. I know Drew's rolling his eyes and basically wants to kick me off the pod because I'm
I
talking about
do.
Kerr. But no, man, I love him. And I think that, again, this Kentucky team, I'm not putting a lot of money into them. I might not put any money on them, but plus 2,100 to be able to just Kentucky it up.
Mhm.
I mean, they have the coach coming from Utah State. I mean, he's a pretty good coach.
right?
Matt, do you know his name? What was his name again?
Um,
Sorry to put you on the spot
Mark
like that. Yes, it was Mark
Mark
something.
Phelps. Mark Phelps.
Yeah. Mark Pope.
Mark Pope. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was
he's
some Mark.
Yeah.
but there's a lot of teams in this conference that
Texas A&M.
I mean, Texas, Georgia might be back. They got a 5-star. Auburn, like always. Kentucky, Tennessee, just absolute defensive monsters.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, I didn't even know. It's just, oh, and that brings me to why I feel that there's going to be 10 teams that make it to the dance to the
Whoa,
SEC.
whoa, whoa, whoa,
True,
whoa,
true,
whoa,
true,
whoa,
true,
whoa,
true.
whoa,
No.
whoa, whoa, man,
10
brother.
teams.
You are
No,
glazing this conference right now.
How
that
could I
is
not?
no. True, 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 true. Under 5.5, brother. Like,
Oh,
like,
no, it's
Really?
over.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
over. It is over.
No,
Nope,
Jake, come on. They had
nope.
so many teams in last
I
year.
I understand that, but I mean, listen, like again, I'm looking at some of these teams, and again, I think that you're going to see Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, Arkansas. You maybe
A&M.
you maybe get some sort of amalgamation of like a Texas A&M, and then again, maybe the Kentucky, Florida.
Mhm.
Look,
Maybe
Jake,
there's
I'm high off the barbecue in the South, so I
I
just 10
clearly,
teams. There's
yeah.
10 barbecue teams that can make
Yeah, that is a barbecue chicken take right there. But I will say I love Tennessee. Tennessee I think is going to have a little bit of sauce to them too. Igor Milicic Jr. Related to Dirko
What a
Milicic.
name.
Yeah, unreal. But I found a really cool piece about him. So this will be his fourth season. But this will be his fourth conference in 4 years on three teams. And it's because he started his career at Virginia in 2021 to 2022, then played on that Charlotte team that I mentioned earlier. But Charlotte went from Conference USA to the AAC over the last 2 years. So now that he's playing in the SEC, he's played in four conferences for three different teams. So, anyways, he's a baller. 12 points, 8 rebounds, 1 block, and 37 3-point shooting. So it's going to be a little bit interesting.
No, Tennessee's always that defensive team, and I like the insight you brought, Jake. So we'll go to leaving the SEC barbecue land to the Northeast and the Big East. Big East basketball. Always got to bring up Big East basketball. So let's start off with the hands down favorite, UConn. Looking at UConn, a lot of turnover. That whole starting lineup from that national championship team gone. Tristan Newton, Cam Spencer, Donovan Clingan, and Stephon Castle. Only Alex Caravan returning. But that doesn't mean they didn't reload. Liam McNeely, 5-star recruit, 10th nationally ranked. Isaiah Abraham, 4-star, 33 nationally ranked. What do we feel about UConn this season?
Yeah, I mean, UConn will definitely be a team that we always got to look out for. If we're talking about Hurley's, he's the better one. So cool. It's great. But
Mhm.
I think that, again, UConn being in top five in Kempom, nobody is surprised by them having a top class. No one is surprised by, right? Them losing a lot of folks, I think, is something kind of par for the course when you've got a program like that. All of my brain is telling me to take UConn, right? Just because again, they've got the coaching, they've got everything going for them, they've got the sauce, they've won these championships. There's going to be some competition this year in the Big East. The Big East is reclaimed, if you will, in
Mhm.
terms of being one of
It's
those top
revived.
conferences, the revived Big East, if you will.
So
But
needed.
yeah, I'm very excited specifically for a couple of these teams. I will tell you that St. John's and this whole Patino wave is definitely something that I'm on. I don't know if you guys are on it.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
but again, they're 19 in Kempom. Kadari Richmond was at Syracuse for 3 years. Sorry, Drew. I know that you're big on Syracuse, but that's one of the guys that dipped. And he's now with St. John's. And again, Brooklyn kid. He's 15 points a game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals. That's insane production. You know what I mean? And again, being able to now take that onto a roster that's already got a top recruiting class, them at plus 430 to win the Big East when UConn is plus 125. Creighton is plus 430, Xavier at plus 650, and Marquette at plus 750. I don't think that there's no smart way that I put money on UConn this year to win the Big East,
Mhm.
even though it's probably a bad move, if that makes sense. There's too much value with St. John's or a team like Marquette or even Creighton. You know what I mean? Come on.
I do think Creighton right now, I think they pose the biggest threat to UConn just with Kalkbrenner coming back. They added, hey, add this to the All American team name. Pop Isaacs. He was transferred from Texas Tech, 15.8 points per game. As we know, Creighton's always loaded on offense. I think right now it's UConn, St. Johnson, Creighton, the top three in the betting odds, but I think Creighton could pose the biggest threat to UConn.
Now, I'm really glad none of you guys mentioned this team because I'm so passionate about this team. I want them to be good so dang badly. Do you guys have any idea what team trying to mention?
I hope it's Providence.
It
Seton
is
Hall.
not Providence. The Friars can go kick rocks. Georgetown Hoyas, I want them
Oh my.
back.
Yeah.
They're going to be back. And this is the year I want it to be this year so damn badly. Georgetown Hoyas, they get rid of all those bums from last year that Ed Cooley had to deal with. Supreme Cook, gone. Dontre Styles, gone. Rowan Brom, gone. Jay Heath, gone. Isaiah Masood, gone. And they bring in at least 11 new players to this team. A whole new overhaul. The one returning player, Jaden Epps, averaged 18 points a game. I just think they have so much. They have Jaden Fort, Seal. I can't even. There's so many names I can't pronounce. I'm sorry for all these kids, but no, they have 2 4 stars coming in. If this is the year, this is the year. They're my dark horse.
Hey, I love
Georgetown
it.
Hoyas.
And it's so funny that I said Providence because guess what? Ed Cooley, former coach of Providence, now at Georgetown, right? So I think that that's actually it's cool to see that kind of tree and lineage. Ed Cooley was always a coach that I was watching, especially just Providence being a random
Yeah.
school that I follow. But I will tell you, I also read Coach John Thompson's book, former coach of Georgetown,
Okay.
and I'll tell you, like he's a great again, obviously, rest in peace, but it's one of those situations where I think that program has been needing an opportunity to just re-spark it. And frankly, the new landscape of college basketball say, oh, trade in the old model and bring in 11 new players. You know what I mean? Like it's that
Yeah.
Georgetown team. I will tell you, I don't put a lot of stock in them winning the conference. I think that they'll be good. I think they've got a lot of
Mhm.
talent. I think that, again, with the Big East, it's all about being able to have that returning leadership from not only a coaching standpoint, but from a player standpoint. But then also, it's just having that consistency, right? And when you
Mhm.
bring in a roster that's new with 11 guys, I just don't know if I can feel that off the rip when you've got to play
I
St. John's,
They were so bad last year. They were
Yeah.
9-27. Uh, Patrick Ewing, a Georgetown Hoya legend, just didn't have what it takes to coach that team. They were the worst defensive team last year. They gave up 78 points again. That was one of the highest amongst like all of college basketball. So if they can just bring that number down, I think they should be able to have the biggest turnaround in college basketball, in my opinion. My opinion.
Well, I do like that. And I mean, listen, like I think that they could easily be on Darling Watch when you talk about like a team that could put it together. I think that they're probably a year or two away from being able to get everything aligned, but I'm with you. I like the chutzpah there. There's another team that I want to hop onto right now, and I think that it's not anything that people are really going to jump at, but dude, Marquette, again, the fact that they have a team that is defensively sound, that shoots really well. Shaka Smart, I think, is an underrated, great coach in all of college basketball. So again, when you've got a guy like Cam Jones who's returning, he's a 40% 3-point shooter. Again, he's going to have another year in that system. He might be the best 3-point shooter in the country behind a guy like Fletcher Lawyer.
Mhm.
So again, I think that we're going to be sitting in for a fun Big East. Best part about the Big East, that tradition's still alive, man. They're the smallest conference when it comes to these kind of major college basketball groups. I love the fact that they've kept the tradition alive. I'll flip the question now to you, Drew. How many teams do you think make the Big East?
Oh, I think you're gonna scream at me again like you did with the SEC. Let me pull up what I thought. I had 7 teams projected to make it.
Aren't there like eight?
I
True,
don't
that's
know.
most of the conference.
Yeah, bring them all in. Hey, there's 11 teams. You guys cut me some
Okay,
slack.
okay,
We're
okay.
high
There we
in
go.
UConn. We're high in Georgetown, St. John's, Villanova. Probably not.
I,
Creighton's high. Providence,
I think it's
yeah,
Seton
five.
Hall.
I think it's five. I think it's the UConn,
yeah.
Marquette, Creighton, and St. John's, and then you just add one more bubble team of Xavier, Providence, and Nova. It's not going to go more than five.
Yeah, I would say that probably around 4.5, 5-ish,
You guys aren't
Uh,
thinking all these old people watch big East
I
Coast
know.
basketball. They're not gonna.
Listen, I'm with you. I think that what we're going to run into this year too is that again the landscape of college basketball has really changed. Like there's going to be some random schools that are not necessarily in these like majority top conferences that end up getting bids, and obviously that's from the the background ways of doing it from winning your con or winning the tournament right in your own right. But I don't hate the take, Drew. I think it's a little high still, but again, give me 4 or 5 teams coming out of the Big East, but wouldn't be surprised if we chicked it up a little bit.
I love to be bullish. That's all I can say. And that'll wrap up the Big East basketball preview. Now we're just gonna pick some teams that aren't in big conferences that we feel that could make at least make the tournament, at least sniff the tournament. Is there any teams that jump out to you guys that could sniff the tournament? Any special teams that you're hot
Oh,
on?
brother,
I know you. I'm sure you got a whole
yeah,
like
yeah,
pocket full.
yeah. Listen, how about this? I can go conference by if you want me to, but again, I'll kind of just jump in where I need to. I say that there's going to be a team that you got to look out for. It's probably going to end up being UNLV. And UNLV is going to be a team that I think that again, KenPom right now is at 94, but this Mountain West entire conference is being slept on 1,000%. I think that there's some really good basketball that comes out of the Mountain West. We saw a lot of tournament teams come out of it last year. So I like UNLV at 94 in the KenPom rankings. If you have to give me a little bit more of a flex range on that, Boise State to be another school that could be a football and basketball school. 45th in KenPom, and they have Alvaro Cardenas coming from San Jose State. 35 points, 5 rebounds, 3 rebounds on 38% three-point shooting last year. So again, high on some of these Mountain West schools.
Guys, I'm going to name my ultimate tournament dark horse. This team, lock it in for the Sweet 16. We all know Grand Canyon University Antelopes. Guys, they are the mid-major power rankings came out earlier this week. GCU's number one. They return 4 out of their 5 starters. They have probably one of the best players, the best mid-major player, one of the best in the country, Tyon Grant Foster. They added great transfers. Jacoby Coles from TCU. They got a good point guard, Micaiah Williams from UT Arlington. This team was long, athletic, tall, great at defense. They added a little bit more offensive scoring. We saw in the tournament this past season that they can hang. They have the athleticism to run up and down the court with you, but they've just added, some key offensive players. GCU, they're elite. They're elite. They're locking in for the Sweet 16, baby.
Jake, your face. What did you
No, no, no. I'm right. I know I'm right.
Well, one, I don't know about that. But but two, I think that I think that GCU was a great team last year, and I think that when you talk about the tournament year over year, it's hard to be able to replicate that same like lightning in a bottle energy. And like, there's some teams that are able to do it. Like GCU has been that team that again over the last like year or two, we've really seen it. I've got to see it again to believe it. I don't know why. I think that there's other teams that there's more stock to take in. I do think that there's a lot of talent on the GCU side, and arguably one of the best underwritten home basketball environments in all of college sports.
Oh, yes, yeah, easily. Yeah.
Very underwritten for sure.
I mean, the first time, just quick side note.
Yeah.
The first time Rick Pitino, this may have been like the last time he was at Louisville. They had a game at GCU. He said that it was probably one of the toughest regular season road environments he's ever coached in.
Yeah, I have no doubt in that. And again, I think that GCU has got some sauce. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of chunk through the rest of the year. Another school that I think is definitely in a little bit of more of a random category. And remind me, what conference is GCU in again?
The WAC.
They're in the WAC. Okay, so this is not the WAC. This is the WCC. But give me St. Mary's, brother.
Yes.
St. Mary's got a little bit cooked last year, obviously, by GCU. So it was a little bit of an interesting scenario where, again, I think that we'll see a team that returns in a lot of those ways where, again, when you talk about that trapezoid of success, St. Mary's is always kind of towards the top because they're a great just offensive and defensive efficient team.
Slow, but very,
yeah, slow. Yeah. Yeah, definitely not towards the top in terms of speed by any means. But
Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing that I've got on St. Mary's this year is that this Gonzaga team is not nearly as loaded as it is. So they should be able to win their turn or their conference pretty handedly. And with all that being said, I think that if they can make it to the tournament again this year, you should expect them to get a round or two in and hopefully not get bounced like they did last year. Because I got killed by having them deep last year. So
My
again,
my o-
ready to get hurt again.
my only gripe with St. Mary's is no, I agree. Like their offensive defensive efficiency is usually one of the best in the country when you combine the two. It's just when they meet just an athletic team that has guards that are, just run you up and down, they do have some issues.
For sure.
But I mean, St. Mary's, if you place a bet on them to make the Sweet 16, I can't argue with you that that's a bad bet. I can't.
Well, I'll tell you a team that, to your point on that, would be kind of the opposite from St. Mary's, right? Like a team that plays more fast, that might be
Yep.
able to mow down a team like that. Another team that I'm kind of high on, bro. Murray State and the Missouri
Racist.
Valley Conference.
Hey, I was gonna bring up Murray State, but I'll let you have that. I got a few more.
Hey,
Go ahead, Jake.
I listen, I think the Murray State piece of it all is that one, like they've got a ton of downhill energy, and especially when
Mhm.
you find teams that can do that consistently, that's that's really the sauce, especially in the tournament. I shouldn't say it's the sauce every time, but at least what we've seen against some of these, more traditionally shooting bound schools. But Drew, what are your thoughts? I love the Missouri Valley energy we've got. It's
Yeah,
great.
no, I did some research on Murray State. In Ken Palm, I think they're 112. Uh, they did lose some big pieces, at least that team last year. That wasn't too great. Quincy Anderson averaged 12.6 points a game, 4 rebounds. Rob Perry, a guard, he averaged 12 points and 5 rebounds, which is kind of remarkable. Brian Moore Jr., 9.2 games. But I think new to step up for that team is going to be Jacoby Wood. He averaged 12 and a half points a game. Give me also Nick Ellington, 11.3 games. I think those are two guys from last year that are going to step up and take over the reins and hopefully bring a conference championship win for them.
I will share with you what I think is going to be my, let's call it college basketball formula for the year on whether we're going to determine whether a team makes the tournament or not. You ready?
Mm.
Size, speed, defense, rebounding. That equals the tournament. Murray State has got 7 guys that can do that. And again, that is insane to be able to say from the Missouri Valley Conference standpoint. I'm not
Mhm.
saying that you should be expecting them to go crazy deep. I'm saying that you should expect them to win their conference plus 400 something to be able to win the conference right now.
Well, that conference got absolutely gutted.
Right. That's what I'm saying. And Murray State is not the top dogs right now. They're giving it to Bradley, and I understand why. Bradley has had the history of making the tournament. They shoot
Mhm.
lights out when they need to. They won it last year. Or I'm sorry, they didn't win it last year. It was Indiana State that won it, and then it was Drake
That
that
team
won the
is a
tournament.
whole new different team too. They lost everybody.
Oh yeah.
Everybody.
I will tell you, Missouri Valley is by far my favorite, like mid during the week when I'm just trying to be gross and watch a college basketball game. That is my
Oh,
conference
they're
for sure.
dude,
I rep
they're
that
they're the
like
Maction. They're the Maction of college
I rep
basketball.
that like nothing else. We might do a Missouri Valley talk show at some point. We'll see what we've got. But again, I think Murray State at plus 400 to win their conference. And even for them, again, Matt, to do like, let's call it a round of 32 or a Sweet 16. I mean, shit,
Yeah.
they play fast. Like if they meet the right team, they could beat them. But if they play against a team, if they end up coming in as a low seed, I would be worried for them to play any top seed. But if they come in as like a mid seed, like a 5-12 matchup,
hmm
bro,
hmm
Murray State day over day over day.
You pair him with a Big Ten team that might not have that speed and athleticism. Who might be a 5 seed. Murray State comes in at 12. I probably bet Murray State.
Yeah. So we're all big. Okay, I'm glad we're all big on Murray State. I'm glad we all mentioned them. Uh, just three teams that I want to mention. I'll go into kind of the most and then to the least. I got to show love to my VCU Rams in the Atlantic 10. Just a team that always shows up in and out each year. Very good coach. They always have a good coach. And then they did get, I think they got a 3-star recruit to add to the season. I always like the Rams. They're always a good basketball program. And then two teams that you guys might be like, really? But two teams that I know Matt's always big on if they're doing well. UC Irvine. I think they should win.
Yes.
Anteaters.
Yeah, I think they should win the conference.
Mhm.
And then right behind them, I think UC Santa Barbara could
Yeah.
maybe take over the conference instead of them. So I think it'll be those two at the top. And I think hopefully they make the tournament. Who knows?
Yeah, guard play's always been pretty good with both of those programs recently, and like we've seen the past 2 years, both of those teams come in as the 14th, 5th seed, and they're hard. They're hard to beat. So I agree with that take.
Huge on Irvine myself as well. So love that. I will tell you, see Santa Barbara. Biggest thing for them is just going to be able to see that consistency year over year, right? Like I feel like there are a lot of teams that we can look at that made the tournament last year and say, oh, like they had a great year, they won a big upset, or they had a competitive game. Like we've got to look into them for this year. My biggest thing is that if we've got to be able to see it year over year, and especially in a conference like that, it's just going to come down to winning their conference. And I think that UCI has really got the kind of handcuff on it, but would not be shocked if you saw at least, one or two of those teams being, or I'm sorry, one or two of those other teams from the conference coming in as well to the tournament.
Yeah, I only liked UC Santa Barbara because they did have a really good score last year. And AJ Mitchell, he had 20 points a game last year.
Yep.
They're a pretty good offensive team, but they just did not know how to play defense.
Right.
And then for UC Irvine, uh, pretty good offensive team. I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting with those two California teams, personally.
They're one of the UCI specifically is one of those schools that gets pointed out in the trapezoid of success, where again they're not playing too fast. They've got good defense. They've got good offense. I'm going to say it as many more times as I can. I might get it tatted on my chest. We'll see what's up. But no, man, I think that UCI team is going to be fun to watch again. I will tell you, I don't know too much about their class coming into this year, but I do know that they do a really good job of kind of holding roster year over year too. So should be an interesting campaign for our anteaters.
All right, and any more teams we gotta get off our chest before we head out for today?
Whew. I mean, listen, man, I'm always excited to be able to just rip a mid Tuesday basketball game, whether it's the Patriot, whether it's the Sun Belt, whether it's whatever we've got going on. I can't really say if there's another team of mine that I'm like super high on, but I mean, UCI was definitely one I was going to touch on. I'd say maybe Loyola Chicago again, just because again we're talking around a 79 at Ken Palm, so maybe something in that world. I would love to talk about Drake, but again with Darian DeVries leaving, I think that program's going to struggle.
Yeah, they will.
But no, I think we're in for another great college basketball gambit this year. Any early predictions on, let's call it maybe a national champion, if I do say so myself. Anybody want to throw one out there?
Arizona.
Okay. Come on now. I know I'm wearing a hot sauce sweater, but let's keep the hot takes for later, come on.
I personally, just because I love their point guard so much, Alabama.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay, just like I didn't see that coming.
I was like, I didn't know you were gonna make a bad pick. No, I'm just kidding. But I think I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna say it's Duke. I don't see how a roster like this doesn't go all the way.
That bounce, boom, boom,
yeah, boomy, whatever. I'm with it. But
leave me hanging.
This guy stinks.
Hey, listen, I think that again, that's where I think the smart money goes right now, because the odds on it. I mean, again, I'll pull it up right now. If anybody has it pulled up, that'd be great. But it's a team that just has way too much talent on it. It's got a lot of consistency, and I think that they're going to have so much hype and just momentum going on with all this Cooper Flag stuff. They also have Cameron Sheffield, Gary Sheffield's son. So again, who knows? Maybe he hits a three and he does like a bat celebration. Like again, Cameron, if you're listening to the pod, I think that would be sick. So just like hear me out. But I think we'll have a good time with it.
The odds on favorite for champions right now, Duke's had plus 950 on FanDuel. Houston follows that with 1,000. Kansas as well. Connecticut, plus 1,100. Bama, Iowa State. Some of the teams. Oh, Arizona plus 250 or 2,500. Excuse me.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, I think at plus 950 for Duke right now, with just how talented that roster is. I get it. I know that it's the easy, oh, he's a Dallas fan, he's a Laker fan. He'll throw in Duke too while you're at it, But I think that realistically at plus 950, the money's too strong there. Give me Duke to win it all.
Yeah, I'm just looking at more of these odds. Oh, UNLV plus 50,000, Jake. You gonna hammer that?
Again, not to win the whole damn thing, but listen, Sweet 16.
I don't have those ones, but But that'll wrap up the show. Thank you for tuning in. Like the video, share this video with a big college basketball fan. I don't think there's a show that goes more in depth than we just did. Conference preview. Find it for me. Don't just stay here. Like the video, go to Spotify, and that'll do it for Bros in the Bleachers podcast.
Hey, and let us know
Adios.
who you think's winning the national championship. We want to hear you sound off in the comments. Let us know, but we appreciate you, bros. Adios.